Okay, looks like we are live according to the indicators on my screen. So hello and all. Checking the chat, say hi to Belinda and Raylene, who are already here or were here before I started. It's nice to see who rocks on tonight. It's a crazy old world we have at the moment. Lots of things happening. Hey, Luke, how are you doing? Lots of topics for discussion, both stuff that's happening in Australia and stuff around the world. So I put the title on this one as I thought was one of the biggest stories this week, the US midterm elections and what conclusions might be drawn from those results. And yes, if you're going to be one of those weird people who comes on occasionally and goes, "You're not American, why are you saying that?" It's like, the people who say something that stupid are exactly the same people who advocate for and cheer on American foreign policy that attempts to dictate what every other country in the world can do. So one of the reasons I talk about American politics is because it has such a big impact on the rest of the world. That's what it is. And the giggle I did then mid-sentence is because a comment just popped up from Raylene, who had been in earlier and then apparently wasn't attending. She said, "Sorry, was in the crapper." So I was like, and it's like, good to know. Yes, Luke, too much info, but that's okay. We're grown-ups. We can do it. It reminds me, I'm people would know from all my talks that I'm a sci-fi nerd, and one of the authors I read as a youth was Anne McCaffrey. Sorry, now I'm thinking of Ursula Le Guin. I often mix those two up for some bloody reason. But Ursula Le Guin's sci-fi, a lot of Ursula Le Guin's fantasy and sci-fi has very political messages in it. One in particular called The Dispossessed is overtly political. There's an anarchist society that I think they're on like a moon, a fairly poorly resourced moon, and the planet below with bountiful resources is capitalist, and the anarchists call the capitalist planet like a hell world. It's just awful and unimaginable to them. But the anarchists don't have any hang-ups about sex, sexuality, or bodily functions. So they don't have any coy words for the toilet. They just refer to the shittery, which I thought was rather choice. Like no sort of hedging around what it is. It's the shittery. And hello, Tendai. Oh yeah, really. That was an interesting story that came out this afternoon, our time, which I assume was Wednesday American time. A CNN journo, Jim Acosta, trying to get Trump to answer a question, and Trump didn't feel like answering it, and Acosta didn't feel like not asking it, and they were trying to get him to stop, and he's just basically like, "Yeah, fuck you, Trump," and just kept asking. Trump's good. That's enough. And then I think it was a White House intern, a young woman, who went up and was going, "Give me the microphone," and he makes it clear, get the microphone, and she does this weird thing where she tries to go under his arm and grab it, and he fended her off with one arm, and the filthy lying shitbags in the White House go, "Oh, he assaulted that young woman. It was a terrible, violent assault." And it's a blatant fucking lie. And they were even publicizing a doctored video that had an edit in it and a bit sped up to make it try and make it look worse. It was basically her hand came under like that, and he pushed down like that, like, no, you're not taking the fucking microphone. And not only has the White House circulated a doctored, like basically a faked video that was done by InfoWars, those notorious liars. They're lying about being upset by it. These are people who applaud violent assaults all the time. This is what shits me when right-wingers try and get someone who they regard as their opponent punished, and they say they're upset by something, and they're fucking lying. They don't care. It is not a thing they care about. And in this case, it isn't a thing that happened. They're lying and grossly exaggerating what happened, and it isn't a type of action that even bothers them. I mean, Trump actively cheered on a Republican who full-on fucking body slammed a journalist. This is just absolutely typical of them. The combination of lying about what happened and then lying about how they feel about it. Just fucking bullshit. Australian, that is the other big one. The session is terminated. That was the one that was interesting to me when I read about it first. Like, it's like the first thing Trump did after the midterms was sack his attorney general, who he'd had the shits with for ages. By sacked, he asked to resign. Basically, he's given no choice but to resign. And that was weird. But then I was reading, the analysis was apparently that there was a perception that if Trump had fired his attorney general before the elections, that would have reflected adversely upon him and the Republicans. So they waited till after the result was in to do it. And see, this is where Trump is going to panic from here on, because the basic result of the midterm elections is in the Congress, the lower house. The Democrats picked up 30-odd seats to end up with a majority. The Senate went slightly in the Republicans' favor, so the Republicans still control the Senate. But with a Democrat-controlled Congress, they have subpoena powers. They can call public hearings. They can say, I'm going to subpoena the following people, and we're going to have public hearings on what's happening on this. So while there were overtones that Trump's move to sack Sessions was because Sessions wouldn't get involved with the Mueller rubber probe. He's looking into rubbers. No, Russia. The probe into Russia and what effect they had on the election, and how fucking criminal are Trump and his cronies. There's an obvious inference to be drawn that Trump's trying to control or curtail that investigation. But there are a number of reasons why that would be an extraordinarily bad idea. Doesn't mean Trump won't do it. Trump does dumb shit all the time. It would be a quite bad idea, but he does stuff that are bad ideas all the time. A lot of people have thought even some Republicans would not stand for Trump blocking an investigation that's obviously uncovering a lot of criminal activity. I've lost count of how many convictions and guilty pleas they've got. Like, I think it's more than a dozen. And to cut that off, I mean, the partisans, which is the majority of the Republican Party, keep parroting the line, it's a witch hunt, there's nothing there. But they don't actually need that many Republicans to say, like if Trump tried to shut the inquiry down, they don't need that many Republicans to say that's unacceptable for it to be a really big deal. Like, seriously, if 4 I think it's a smaller number as that. If 4 Republican senators wanted to vote for a censure or impeachment motion against Trump, he'd be done. So it's a very fraught situation. And one of the things that could happen, let's say Trump did successfully shut down the Mueller investigation, a Democrat-controlled Congress could call him to testify and televise the proceedings and basically say, Mueller, bring all your files, everything you uncovered so far, and we're going to ask you questions and televise it to the fucking nation what you've uncovered. So while it would be a very bad idea for Trump to try and actively shut down the investigation, it's certainly something he's stupid enough to do. You know, the word constitutional crisis gets thrown around a lot. Like if enough people, basically, if enough Republicans think Trump overstepped his powers as president, all sorts of shit could rain down. So interesting times we live in, as the saying goes. All right, you think the Dems could be easily bought? Look, I don't see absolute truckloads of integrity on the Democrat side, but there is nothing for even conservative Democrats to gain by helping Trump. They gain nothing by doing that. And hello, Agro Pixie, how are you? But it is without doubt interesting times. You know, we're somewhere between something interesting happening and nothing happening. It's never. Like I keep saying, whenever I talk about Trumpland, I have stopped a long time ago trying to predict what will happen, because nothing that happens makes any sense. And this goes right back to the election result not making any sense. And it's a mug's game to try and predict it. So I no longer try and predict what's happening. But, you know, something will happen or nothing will happen. So everybody's, oh God, my drink looks like a urine sample again. It does it. And it's, yeah, just a well-hydrated one. It's not a particularly dark one. That's lemonade with my orange vodka in it. So really, Trump's threatening the Dems with investigations into them. Oh, Trump's full of shit. Trump says, frankly, the stupidest shit imaginable. It never ceases to amaze me the absolute ridiculous bullshit that vomits out of his ugly fucking mouth. I mean, it absolutely does my head in that someone can say such consistently stupid and nonsensical shit. Does my head in. I've seen this before, but I saw it again today on Twitter. Someone saying, with a lot of Trump's speech, if you slow it down, and this was like slowed down to half speed, he sounds really drunk, as most people do if you slow them down. But also because Trump wanders and speaks completely nonsensically, he really sounds drunk because he's not just slowed down, but it really emphasizes what he says makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Luke, has the US president ever visited Australia? Obama did, didn't he? I think US presidents do on the semi-regular. US president visit to Australia. There we go. Google search auto-completed for me. So Clinton did, and George Herbert Walker Bush did. So looking at the recent ones, Lyndon Johnson in the 60s, George Herbert Walker Bush, 91, 92, Bill Clinton in 96, George W. Bush did twice because he fucking loved John Howard, because John Howard was such a diehard Bush cheerleader. When every other leader in the world was going, what the fuck is Bush doing? John Howard was an unflinching, total, devoted Bush cheerleader. Bush fucking loved him. And Obama did visit twice in 2011 and 2014. There you go. So that answers that. Lots of them did. I thought Obama did, but I actually had to look it up to be sure. What the heck is that? Okay. I'm just looking at the windows on my PC, and some stuff is confusing me. That's cool. Hey, Phil and Seela, how are you? And hi, Phil. Nice to see you. Yeah, so so we do get visits from US presidents on the semi-regular. Trump is clearly super scared to visit other countries because he knows how unpopular he is. Hi, Belinda. Like, clearly he doesn't cope well with how unpopular he is, and the idea that most foreign countries are incredibly negative to him, he has trouble with it. Was it Privilege Feeler? Obama said Australia was the first to give women the vote, and the Kiwis were outraged. It was the first real country. There you go. Charlie, I do remember W calling Howard Man of Steel. Are you saying he said it to Rudd too? I mean, Rudd was a complete sycophant, would have been another sycophant to Bush as well. I don't specifically remember him saying it to Rudd, but yeah, he loved John Howard so much. Oh, it was really full on. Raylene, you're going to moon his car if he visits. I mean, it's hard to tell what's going to happen with Trump. I mean, that's the thing. You know, we are now on the cusp of interesting times. Because honestly, I think the Democrats need to be really fucking aggressive. They need to say to people, okay, see, if you vote for us, we do shit. We're going to now hold Trump accountable. Who gives a fuck if it upsets Trump's base? They're fucking lunatics, and they're always going to be upset. The old guard in the Democrats who are so fucking cautious and so fucking wimpy, you've got to go hard against this bullshit. That's the only way to deal with it. And that's the only way to fucking invigorate your base. Just this ridiculous idea that the Democrats keep falling into, oh, we've got to reach out to and pander to these fucking hardcore Trump supporters. Why the fuck would you? When do the Republicans ever reach out to the Democrats or progressives? They don't. They shit all over people. It's utterly fucking ridiculous. Oh yeah, Belinda, we had a little talk about that, the Trump and the CNN reporter Costa. Oh, Raylene, you saw it live. Yeah, I saw the stories after it happened. It took me a while to work out what happened. But yeah, it was great. Like, a journalist finally stood up and said, no, answer the fucking question. And I'm not listening to you when you say I'm finished, because I'm not fucking finished because you didn't answer the question. It's like they all have to do it. The whole press corps has to show solidarity, but they're so fucking weak. It's yeah, but I mean, this, you know, because journalists can get very clubby and very protective, and Trump doing this and then lying about what Acosta did, that may be too much for a lot of journalists, and they might all arc up. I saw the story that was in the news recently, but has like all stories do, fade away. The journalist who was working for the Washington Post, I think, Khashoggi, who got murdered by the Saudis in the Saudi consulate in Turkey. And now this guy was from Saudi Arabia. I think he had permanent residence status in the US, or he had a green card anyway, because he's working for an American media outlet. And he got chopped up. He got lured into the Saudi embassy and murdered and chopped up and the body hidden. And the Saudi response was, first, it didn't happen. And then when it became obvious it did happen, they were like, it was an accident. And then they said, oh, he got into a fight with these 12 big guys who'd flown in just that day, and the fight got out of control and he got killed. This is this pudgy, late middle-aged guy apparently getting in a fight with 12 big security guys, which is entirely plausible. And the Saudis eventually admitted, oh, no, someone did this on purpose. This was planned, and it was a bad thing, and we're sorry. And the journalist seemed to get really outraged. Oh my God, you killed a journalist. The Saudis fucking kill fuck knows how many people all the time. But the journalists got upset because it was a journalist that got killed. So maybe the White House press corps will finally grow a fucking spine at this completely unreasonable behavior. Fruit flies in this house. And it's like, go away. Yeah, maybe the White House press corps will finally grow a fucking spine and all hold Trump accountable, and then it'll just turn into a big shit fight, which will be hilarious. What's that? Bobo saying, oh, cannabis stocks skyrocketed after Sanchez. Oh yeah, that was an interesting, well, two interesting things about cannabis in the US. A couple of states passed recreational use laws, and of course Sessions was obsessed about marijuana, and kept saying he was going to override state laws to prosecute people, which is a huge taboo supposedly for Republicans, for the federal government to override state laws. But he kept threatening to do it. Now he's gone, and a couple more states have passed both recreational and medicinal marijuana laws. I'm not surprised marijuana stocks, cannabis stocks. I didn't know. I mean, it made sense, but I didn't know there were stocks that could go up. Oh, that's depressing. Saying there was another shooting. Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks. That's California, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's depressing. At least 6 people were shot. Oh, how depressing. Yeah, I mean, it's almost never like every time this comes up, it's like, oh, so shocking. So no, I lost the capacity to be shocked or upset by this shit, because nothing ever changes. No matter how horrific the actual shooting may be. This sounds like they're only reporting injuries as opposed to fatalities, but it's very early. But no, I lost the capacity to be upset about mass shootings in the US a long time ago, because nothing ever changes. Oh, people can see what Looney's Trump replacing Sessions with. He's replacing him with someone who is on record as saying the Russia investigation is going too far. In other words, someone who's clearly shown an absolute lack of impartiality. So he may or may not make a move to shut down the Mueller investigation. It will cause a huge shit fight if he does. Like I said, interesting times. Something will happen or nothing will happen. But, yep. I'll tend to, you think marijuana will get legalized? Probably not get legalized in Blighty. Oh. It's hard to tell. Sometimes the change that's been argued for decades, change happens suddenly, like marriage equality and the number of places in the US where cannabis is becoming legal. You know, sometimes it just suddenly happens. So who knows? Look, the guy who ran over the people in Melbourne, he's on trial. His trial has started. I believe he's still pleading not guilty. And it seems like he wants to use the court case to grandstand and say some stupid shit. Yeah. I mean, this guy, he obviously did it for the attention. He was a fucked unit and yeah, just wanted to do something extreme and awful for notoriety. And yeah, I mean, you know, he's the scum of the fucking earth. And yeah, no, he's garbage. America first. Gun laws get changed all the time in America. Not anything fucking sensible, that ain't, buddy. Sorry. A householder wants to get something out of the kitchen and doesn't want to risk being seen. You can't see what I can see, but it's really pretty funny. If you're worried about the reflections, they're not going to even get reflections because I got those blinds across. But are you getting something from behind me? No? It's basically someone, an underworld dweller with a cloth draped over their head because they're so set on not being seen. If you're staying on that side, you don't need to do it because there's no reflection because the blind's there. But anyway. Yeah, okay, Belinda and Raylene, it's hardly surprising this piece of shit would go with mental instability as a defense, given what a fucked unit he is. But that's the interesting thing that a lot of people don't understand. In legal terms, an insanity defense means the person was actually incapable of understanding what they were doing was wrong. Personally, I don't believe there's any doubt that this person knew he was doing something terribly wrong. Oh, Mimsy's going to join me apparently, possibly against her will. Yeah, you've got to come up here, Mimsy, where your fans can see you, up here. Anyway, yeah, I think this piece of shit knew what he was doing, which means an insanity plea won't work. Yeah, but he should get locked up somewhere forever. He is utter fucking garbage. Belinda, what am I drinking tonight? This is well, it's lemonade with my orange vodka in it. It's quite nice. Yeah, Mimsy's here, but she doesn't want to get on camera yet. She may well come on later. So what's that? Feeling here? Yes, I agree with you. US is so divided that the damage will take decades or may never be repaired, because the horror of Trump has just opened the door for something even worse down the line. It is really, really, yeah, I just find it awful to contemplate. Luke, I think I actually did call one of the live streams like live stream with my cat, who is more popular than me. What are you doing? Was it your vomit I had to clean up today? Yeah, come on, come up here. She's coming up now. Coming up to say hello. All right, I'm going to adjust the camera so we'll see more Mimsy. Go up here. What you doing? Yes, I had to clean up some cat's vomit today. I'm not sure if it was Mimsy or Shadow's vomit. I tell you something stupid about my cats. They both do it. Mimsy's done it a couple times recently. They do this thing. Come up here. Come up here. They do this thing where they go into a room, or in my case, it was a shed, where you have the door open and you sort of leave the room, you leave the door open and they go in there, and then you don't realize they're in there, and you go to close the door, and rather than making their presence known, they hide somewhere, so you have no idea they're in there, and you close the door and then they're trapped in there. And Mimsy did it last night. Yesterday afternoon, I was in the shed because I was doing some garden stuff, which my arms still are recovering from, clipping a hedge. Come up here. Up here. Up here. Up here. Silly cat. Yeah, anyway, so I'm using hedge trimmers, manual hedge trimmers. My arms are really sore as a result. But anyway, yeah, so I was in there. She went in there. I closed the door. And because Mrs. Angry this morning couldn't find the cat and thought, oh, I wonder if she's got locked in the shed again. And she had. So Mrs. Angry left me a note. She's still here. It says, Mimsy tells me that you shut her in the shed last night. How mean. She's so hard done by. It was so cold and scary in there. Poor thing. It was. The temperature really turned last night and there was a hailstorm. So it actually... the temperature dropped a lot, went below 10 Celsius last night. And then finishes with, I think you owe her an apology, or maybe a few comments about the size of her brain. Yes, because she's an idiot, because if she'd made her presence known, come all the way up here. Come here, look, come here. No, go up here. There. Yeah, now I can scratch you easily. Yes. Yes, so she was locked in the shed while it was really cold and hailing, and she was probably locked in there for about, I don't know, 15 hours, more than 12 hours anyway. So you're an idiot, Mimsy. You are an idiot. Yes. But she forgave me pretty quickly. She's sitting with me today getting scratches, as you can see. She'll forgive me for that. So yeah, she's pretty happy. She's getting scratches. Yeah, scratch me there. Scratch me right there. No, not there. There. All right, demanding cat. Yes, it's Pirate Cat on my shoulder. So she's not this. Oh, she's done it for years, but it still makes me laugh every time she does it when she wants her head scratched. She headbutts me, like there she was headbutting my shoulder. But like if I'm in bed or I'm sitting on the lounge and she's next to me, wants pats, she'll like headbutt my hand. Like, no, that hand should be scritching me. Yes, it should. Yes, it should, shouldn't it, Mimsy? Is that the best bit? Oh, that's the spot there, isn't it? That's the best spot right there. You're not moving now. I'm doing it there. All right. Attention hog, wanting everyone to know. Yes. Yeah, she tends to forgive pretty quickly when she wants attention. So, yeah. And like I say, I'm not saying she threw up on purpose today to get back at me, so I'd have to clean it up. But, you know, someone threw up. And the thing. It was kind of funny, the timing. Yeah, because it's been quite warm, late spring. We've been getting, Melbourne's missed the worst of it. Brisbane and Sydney have been getting fucking horrifically hot temperatures for November. Like we've been getting like January, February temperatures in November. But we've missed most of it, but it has been warm. But there, this storm came through yesterday afternoon, hail, and the temperature dropped a lot. And that was when Mimsy got locked out. Shadow was inside. Shadow did not like it. Shadow did not like the heavy rain or the hail. She was just sitting there and making this really troubled meow all the time, just like expressing she was really, really not happy. That was about what was going on there. Oh, and she was licked in the shed. Or locked, licked. She's licking herself in the shed, I would imagine. Oh, it's cooled down in Brizzy, Charlie. Well, that's good because you had a lot of hot weather, really full on. Yeah, I posted a little video on Instagram and the other socials of when it was hailing because a lot fell. At first, it was just a little bit. Well, there's a little bit of hail. Then a lot fell, and it kind of looked like snow falling on the ground. See, so Belinda, you heard Mark Latham was spotted in the cafe next door to Studio 10, the same time as show. I've heard a conflicting story, like that Hanson camp suggested they'd accidentally double booked him and he was on his way to an ABC radio interview at the same time she was expecting him to be with her on the morning TV program. And it's hilarious. Like I said in the video, mate, it was like, that leaves there are basically two possibilities. They were covering for Latham, which means Latham is completely irresponsible and flaky, which totally fits in with his persona and is already sort of trying to assert himself independently from Pauline Hanson, or the One Nation Party were telling the truth, in which case they're just pathetically fucking incompetent. So those are the choices. Latham maliciously didn't show up for the TV interview to make Hanson look bad and assert his independence, or the One Nation Party machine is pathetically incompetent. You know, both good. Oh, look, yes, my Instagram, all my social media is AngryAussie. You find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching AngryAussie. And of course, YouTube as well. Oh, yeah. Oh, Raylene, your cat hates storms as well. Got locked outside. Oh, you okay? You took her to your parents' place, but sorry, is that Princess Angel? Is that a cat or a dog? Your parents wouldn't let her in the house, even though she's house trained. That's pretty harsh. These ones, you know, they're like house trained, except when they want to prove a point. Really, it's kind of like this one has done it to me before. Pissing on the floor, like right near me sometimes, and making eye contact, like I'm doing this on purpose. And it's rotten little bit. All right, it's not a cat. It's a Maltese Shih Tzu cross. Maltese shit. That's obviously I just wanted to make a shit joke here. So Maltese shit, a shit teaser. That's what you should call it, a shit teaser. I'm just being mean about your crossbreed dog, but you know, people make up stupid names. Like a Labradoodle. That's a ridiculous name for a dog, isn't it? Luke, you heard them make eye contact to say they love you. I think they're fucking with us. I was as an internet cartoonist. I really like the website's called The Oatmeal. It's been going for ages and has just done some really funny stuff over the years. It does quite a bit. It's quite prolific. With some other people, invented the card game Exploding Kittens, which they literally made millions of dollars on. But of his many very funny cartoons, there was a series that I thought was hilarious. He's going, if my dogs were middle-aged men. And so he's being followed around by these large, naked, middle-aged men who then have dog behavior. You reminded me of it with the eye contact thing, Luke, because he's like, when he takes his dogs, which are the middle-aged men, to the park. One dog saying to them, Jenkins, I see you need to take a shit. Maintain eye contact with that child the whole time. They do that thing where they take a shit and they look like they're just deliberately holding eye contact with you. Tendai, you love exploding kittens. I actually have. I've supported the Exploding Kittens Kickstarter, and I never, I haven't really played it properly. I keep meaning to. It's ridiculous that I haven't, because I also got the expansion pack, the Not Safe for Work expansion pack. So I have 2 decks. I'll have to do it at a party one day. But yes, they've done a couple of expansions over the years, and made a lot of money. And good luck to them, I say. Bury, you've barely managed to sleep. What's keeping you awake? So many things it could be. Maybe you're just not well. Maybe there's a lot of noise. Maybe it's the just existential dread of the horrible state of the world today that's making you stay awake at night. Tenda, have you ever played Munchkin? I've never even heard of Munchkin, actually. Feeling Stealer. Had a one-night stand ages ago. Chick kept eye contact the whole time. Wouldn't do doggy style either. You can maintain eye contact with doggy style as well. So, you know, if you're just really into eye contact, it's kind of like, you know, that there are limits. Yes. Yes, Bury, things keeping us awake all these 3 days. I literally, when Trump won the US presidential election, I had trouble sleeping for a couple of days, and that has never happened to me before. All the disturbing political things and conflicts that have happened around the world, they've never affected my ability to sleep. But for a couple of days after Trump's election, I had trouble sleeping, just filled with dread. Like, this is so wrong. This is so fucked. The world's in so much trouble. But Jesus. Zarelli, have I heard about a new person given a position in fisheries in the US? Oh, Trump just keeps appointing people. If they're in an environment protection role, they're people who want to destroy the environment. It's fucked. Oh yeah, Bury. There's some there are some interesting things. Some of the real edgy races in the US elections that didn't work out for the Democrats. And the one big one was in Texas Senate race between the Democrat rising star Beto O'Rourke and famed serial killer Ted Cruz. And I mean, Cruz was favored to win because he's so well known and Texas is so conservative. But a lot of people had hope for Beto O'Rourke, but he didn't get there. Cruz won. But yeah. Oh, I'm kind of with you. The old guard in the Democratic Party shit me, notably Pelosi and Schumer. Schumer more than Pelosi. He's fucking useless. They need to clear out that old guard and put fucking people with integrity in. I guess Bury, we talked about the Jim Acosta thing. That was super fucking weird. Raylene, Beto should run for president. Look, I think the Democratic slate for 2020s, whatever. I think people shouldn't run is Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, or Joe Biden. Their time's gone. Their time is past. Someone new needs to go in. Harry, you think Texas is pretty liberal? Parts of Texas are super liberal, but overall, Texas is really conservative, although the pendulum is swinging away from the Republicans, and that's a demographic change. You look at the history, the pendulum is definitely swinging away from Republicans in Texas. Oh, you were talking about people who can't vote. You're saying a friend in Texas couldn't go vote because polls were in another city. It absolutely does my mind in, and also people from virtually all around the world. It's bizarre how hard it is for Americans to vote. It staggers my mind. Like it's so hard to believe that it's a legitimate thing to deliberately make it so hard for people to vote. It's mind-blowing. Like in Australia, it's so fucking easy to vote, and in America, you see it's the Republicans. They clearly think the things they're doing are making it hard for minorities that they believe to be overwhelming Democrat supporters to vote. It's fucking criminal, and they keep getting away from it, and I don't know how. Tendai, you want a punk musician in control of the USA? Who would that be? I've heard who's Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know who that is. I don't know if you are just spelling it wrong. But I mean, it could be someone we can't even think of yet, but it could be anyone. Hey, maybe Beto O'Rourke will have a go. Maybe it'll be Cory Booker. There are a huge number of people it could be. I definitely don't think it should be old establishment Democrats, but hey, who knows? Bjorn, look, I'm with you in thinking it would have been very interesting to see Sanders v. Trump in the last election, as in a populist on the left and a populist on the right, what would happen? Because it was very clear a lot of angry young white males who probably would have voted for Bernie Sanders either didn't vote or actively voted for Trump because they're so fucking misogynist that they couldn't deal with the concept of a female president, and they were so illogically and virulently anti-Clinton that they went pro-Trump. And that possibly would have been less of a thing. You can never be sure. You can never be sure what would have happened, but that possibly would have been less of a thing if Sanders was running against Trump. Oh, okay. Tendai, Beto was a punk. Okay, I am. Luke, do people on welfare vote in the USA? Are there people on welfare are eligible to vote in the USA? Oh my God, Yori, you're saying Cory Booker's a corporate stooge. If you're going to rule out any Democrats that are corporate stooges, it's thin fucking picking, very much thin pickings. They're fucking all corporate stooges at some level. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but if that's what is your selection criteria, you're going to have very few people to pick from. Preliminarily, you reckon Sanders would have killed Trump? I don't know. And it honestly gives me the shits if it's stated as a foregone conclusion, because you don't know. And so stating an unknown as a definite outcome doesn't make any sense. And it honestly does shit me a bit to say Sanders definitely would have won. I would have preferred him to Clinton, definitely. But it does annoy me for people to posit hypotheticals and then say the results are foregone conclusion. Look, nobody thought Trump would win against Clinton, including Trump. He clearly didn't want to win. Oh, MC's going for a walk. Oh, Bjorn, you feel bad for falling for Steinstick. I mean, look, this is just me talking, and don't want to be judgmental of anyone. But if I had been voting in the US in that election, there is no way I would have voted for a third-party candidate. That's just personal. It's not a judgment necessarily against anyone who did support a third-party candidate. But yeah, I personally think Jill Stein's full of shit. Oh, Mimsy wants to leave. Sorry, the door's shut, Mimsy, and I'm all the way over here. Raylene, we're talking about Ocasio-Cortez. What's her first name? Surname Ocasio-Cortez. She has future president written all over her. Yeah, she in the Democratic primaries, she knocked off a real establishment dude. And then in the actual election, she won as well. So she has a future Democratic star written all over her, because she's a Democratic socialist as well. So she's pushing that she's on the left. Yeah, she seems to have a lot going for her. It'll be interesting to see what the political machine does to her. You can get out so you've come back. Okay, you can have a scratch for coming back. Your editor name, Alexandria. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Raylene, I'm not sure that you're talking about preferences in the upcoming Victorian election. I'm not sure that that's been publicly stated yet. It may have been, but I'm certainly not sure. What I thought was interesting was when the Libs declared they actually weren't going to run on the 4 inner city seats that will shape up as sort of pitched fight now between Labor and the Greens, because the Liberal Party wants the Greens to win a couple of seats because that increases the chances of Labor not having an outright majority. And so if Labor have to govern with the support of the Greens, then Labor will be forced to support some policies that the Liberals think they can campaign against. But their primary thing is just, if the Greens win a couple seats, it increases the chance of Labor not having an outright majority. But I was really interested when they decided that they weren't going to run candidates in these 4 inner city seats. Luke, there's something just behind me. This is true. Oh, she's enjoying that. Oh my God, Belinda ScoMo, sucking up to Queensland with the tour. I'm going to do a video. There was this bizarre exchange with, because I don't know, ScoMo's got this bizarre thing with the bus. It's like a gimmick that gets used often by politicians. They travel around on a bus. And it's to show, I don't know, they're real and in touch with the people. Except ScoMo's not traveling on the bus. He's traveling between the cities on private jet and then doing photo ops getting on and off the bus, which is fucking ridiculous. And there was this great exchange between an ABC journo and ScoMo. Like, what's the fucking point of the bus? You're not on it. And as a lot of people have pointed out, it sounds like a Clark and Dawes sketch because it's so strange. So I reckon I want to use it as a script for a video where I play both the journo and ScoMo. I'll see if I can find it, because I'll quote you the actual text, and you swear it's an absurdist comedy sketch. It is such a strange bloody conversation. So here it is. Let me see. I've got it on Facebook, and it is taking ages to load. But it should load in a second. And I'll read it to you. Like, this is absolutely bizarre. So this is the exchange between a journo and Scummo. Oh God, now this is taking ages to load. Here we go. Okay, so the journalist says, Prime Minister, you're on a bus tour. Why are you flying? And Scummo says, well, the bus is going all the way up to Rocky, and that's where it's always planning to go. I mean, it's a big state. I need to cover as much of it in 4 days as I can. So we were never planning to take the bus to Townsville. We'd always planned to take that last leg up to Townsville by plane because that was the most effective way to get there and spend most of the time with people on the ground. I mean, these visits aren't about sitting on a bus. They're about engaging with small business and our supporters and the people of Queensland and listening to them. And the journalist says, and why have the bus? Scummo, because it gets me from A to B. Journo, well, will you be taking the bus to Rockhampton from here? Scummo, yes, the bus will be going to Rockhampton from here. That's right. Journo, with you on it? Scummo, I've got to get there earlier than the bus tonight. Journo, so you'll be flying to Rockhampton. Scummo, I'll get to Rockhampton tonight. I've got a program tonight in Rockhampton, and the bus can't get me there quick enough, so I've got to fly. Journo, so you'll be flying to Rockhampton, and the bus will catch up with you, and then you'll fly on to Townsville. Scummo, I'll be flying to Townsville. And your point's what? Journo, I'm interested in the point of the bus if you're not on it. Scummo, I am on it. I just got off it. Journo, but not into Rockhampton or Townsville. Scummo, yeah, well, it's a practical thing. I want to spend as much time on the ground with Queenslanders when I can be on the bus, go from place to place on the bus. That's great. But I'm not going to sacrifice time with Queenslanders, listening to them and hearing them and talking about what's important to them just to satisfy the media's interest in a timetable on the bus. So he has this ridiculous fucking prop, a bus that everyone thinks is stupid, and he's not even traveling on it. He's not even traveling on it. It's a ridiculous fucking prop that he isn't even using properly. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. So he's trying so hard to be man of the people, and fucking no one is falling for it. He is such a fucking tool, and everyone's just like looking at him going, dude, you are such a tool. He's just trying to be, oh, just the blokey daggy dad. No, you're a fucking lunatic evangelical Christian, totally disconnected from ordinary people. You think talking in tongues is a thing, and you're a piece of shit. Oh my God, I super loved Tony Windsor. He was a conservative politician. He was in the Nationals, but he actually left the Nationals and recontested his seat as an independent and won because he basically thought he correctly thought the Nationals were selling out his constituents. They were basically doing whatever the Liberals told them to the detriment of their country constituents. So Tony Windsor and one other National quit the Nationals and represented their constituency as independents. And then famously, at the federal election, when they were in as independents, there was no majority winner. Julia Gillard was leading Labor, and Labor had the most seats. They had two more seats than the coalition. So for either Labor or the coalition to govern in their own right, they needed the support of a number of independents. And these two country conservative independents were the critical ones. And they both supported Gillard. And this was because they had a meeting with Tony Abbott. And Tony Abbott is a complete piece of shit. And it became obvious to both of them, Tony Abbott has no integrity, is completely untrustworthy. And whereas Gillard promised to actually consult with them and whatnot. So they supported Gillard, which caused a huge shitstorm. But then Gillard led an incredibly effective minority government. But yeah, Tony Windsor, and then he quit politics after that. And he's still quite outspoken. But I love what he said about Scummo. And he said, look, at least Morrison saved us from a Dutton Prime Minister, because Dutton as Prime Minister would have been a disaster for this country. Morrison will just be a failure. It's just like, dude, sinking both boots in there, saying, well, you know, at least he saved us from the disaster that would have been Dutton. So instead of a disaster, we just get a failure. I was like, oh my God. Really, seeing Palmer's adverts back on YouTube. Oh my God, he's full of shit. He is so full of shit. He's just a scammer. Absolute scammer. I need a drink. You know what I was thinking? For a drink, rather than the big drink with lemonade, I might have a bourbon. I have a drink. My glass ready with a big block of ice in it. Yeah. Yes. It's all very interesting, isn't it, Lindsay? What am I doing? Oh, yes. You're so God, she's so nosy. It's like everything's about her. Everything's about her. That's my caramel bourbon. She's so nosy. She's always sure that everything is about her. No, I'm just gonna. Oh no, she wants a scratch. She's headbutting me. All right, I will scratch you in a second. I'm just going to chill my bourbon on there. Okay. Oh, look, here's a little bit of trivia. This little decanter I've got. I have a couple of different Skull decanters. I have two of these ones. There's a little stopper, like it's a faux crystal thing. You see it's got a little rubber stopper in there to seal it, and you push it down like that. This did a thing where I don't know why, some form of physics or other, maybe it's gas thing, but this actually got spontaneously forced out of the thing. And I came up, you can see where I keep the drinks there, and I think I had vodka in it, and the stopper was gone. So I thought someone had been drinking it. So I thought one of my kids had got into it. And I mean, okay, kids, they're young adults. At the time, one of them was of legal drinking age and one was not far off it. And I thought, but who's been in it without saying anything to me? And then my imagination started to play up to me. Like I thought they diluted it with water to try and conceal that they'd drunk it. So I asked both of them, I said, did you drink that? Because someone has, because the stoppers come out of it. The stopper's not just going to fall out because it's got a lot of rubber things. So the stopper's not just going to fall out. Someone's taken it out. Someone has to take it out. Someone took it out and drank. And I talked to both of them and said, who drank it? And they said, not me. I said, look, you're not in trouble. This is not a trouble thing. You don't have to lie about this. But I just don't want it to be a secretive thing. And they both said, didn't do it, wasn't me. And I just thought, as much as it doesn't make sense that the stopper was out, neither of them have a reason to lie to me. So I can't just go, well, I don't believe you. You must have been you, blah, 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 and have a big scene. So I went, okay, I'm taking you at your word. It wasn't you. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm taking your word that it wasn't you. And then I noticed, well, I pushed the stopper all the way in. Sometimes it would be partly out. Okay, does it really come out? And then one day, I was actually in the kitchen here, and there was like ding, 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 and the stopper had spontaneously popped out of the decanter. And I just thought, holy fuck, I am so glad I believed my kids because they were telling the truth. Against all apparent logic, the decanter could actually force the stopper out, and didn't seem possible, but it happened. I was a witness to it happening, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I believed them and didn't rant at them and say I was angry at them for lying, because they weren't lying. Like, oh my God, even though it didn't make any sense to me, I just thought, well, they've got no reason to lie to me, so I'm not actually angry at them. So they must be telling the truth, and they were telling the truth. Man, I'm so glad I believed them. But that's the thing. And hello, Miss Foxification. Nice to see you. Zephyr Healer. If I face the skull true north, the drink will sour. You heard that from a homeless guy. Just because he wet himself, that doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's talking about. It sounds perfectly feasible. They got my skull ice cube in here. You probably can't see that it's a skull, but there's a skull sitting on top of an ice cube there. Yeah. That's basic. That's basically an old fashioned is just sweetened bourbon. With a twist of orange in it. I didn't put a twist of orange in it, but yeah, an old fashioned is just whiskey, usually bourbon, but it can be Scotch. That's sweetened either with like a sugar cube or fine sugar or sugar syrup. And as garnish, you have a twist of orange in there. Or you maybe put some bitters in there. Actually, maybe I should put some bitters. I've got some bitters just here. Are you in the between me and my bitters? Where's the bitters? No, it's just around here. Let me get the bitters. Yes. I'll put a dash or two of bitters in here. Pour that over the skull. Like blood on the skull. Well, that looks cool. Oh, you can't see it. So there's bitters in its eye socket now. Turn it around. Really see the shadow in its eye socket. It's got bitters in its eye socket. So, yeah, an old-fashioned is just a very simple whiskey cocktail. It's usually sweetened whiskey with a dash of bitters and an orange twist. I'm not putting an orange twist in there, but very refreshing. Raylene, if anyone noticed anything odd in the last couple of nights, seeing or hearing odd things, one of the 2 nights each year, the veil between the worlds is thin. I like your explanation, Feline Sealer. God's fucking with you. Next, you'll be hearing a booming voice while you're sleeping. Angry, go to church. I'm one of those people, they're saying like, I shouldn't go in a church. It'll probably collapse on me if I go in there. Raylene, Beltane and Samhain. I think I'm pronouncing that one wrong. Samhain's Halloween. They're like 6 months apart, correct? They're the Irish pagan festivals. I was listening. Oh, look, the folklore. As I've mentioned multiple times on the live streams, I've been listening to the Blind Boy podcast. He's an Irish comedian, with stage name Blind Boy Boat Club from the Rubber Bandits, and he's great because he's like so smart. He's so well read, and particularly in things like history and philosophy. And he talked about the origins of Halloween and whatnot, being the Irish festival, Samhain, and apparently the origins of jack-o'-lanterns, which these days are carved pumpkins. In Ireland, they were carved turnips because they had turnips already. You can get quite large turnips, and they'd carve the faces into the turnip. Look it up online. Look up images of turnip jack-o'-lanterns. They're super fucking creepy. Yeah. Turnip jack-o'-lanterns are really creepy. Look at her. She's just so demanding. She's going to kiss my ear. No, she's just like, my ear tastes like crap. Elaine, Beltane's a pagan festival. Well, it's also Christmas, the Yule festival, the Midwinter festival. I did, again, another funny comic. I saw it on Facebook is like someone dressed up for Halloween and a Christian yelling at them, Halloween's awful, it's evil, it's a pagan celebration of lust and decadence. And the person whispers to someone else, should we tell them about Christmas? Or Easter. Easter in particularly was the pagan, Easter was the pagan fertility celebration. So Easter is just all about fucking and decadence. So yeah, the Catholics tried to absorb all the pagan festivals, and that's something they continue to do. I saw a doco on the spread of Catholicism through South America and Africa. They just kept doing it. They did it in Europe, and as the missionaries went out, they did it. They're with the people, and they don't say stop believing in your God now, because that won't work. But they say, oh, do you know your God's actually our God with a different name? And your religious festivals, when you say this, it's actually this. And so rather than just straight up say to the people they're colonizing, your God's not real and your festivals are not real, they're going, oh, well, your God is actually our God. Your festivals are actually our festivals. Yes, musical aviator. The rabbit symbol is very subtle, like the egg. They're both symbols of fertility and birth. Philly, you checked out the turnip jack-o'-lanterns. Yes, they're super creepy. Super creepy. Raylene, you think Samhain is remembering and respecting those of past, not dressing in costume, begging for lollies. Personally, I like dressing in costume, begging for lollies. I think it's awesome, good fun. I encourage. We put up a thing for kids to come to our place, so we had treats as fun. I just like seeing people have fun. Speaking of which, though, like Mexico has Day of the Dead, is the day after Halloween. I love. Has anyone not seen the Pixar film Coco, which is built around Mexico's Day of the Dead? Oh my God, that is so good. And it almost goes without saying when it's a Pixar film that it's really beautiful visually. But Coco is really beautiful. It's an astonishingly beautiful film. And if you like the songs, there's very good songs in Coco as well. But Coco is a great story as well, and really good voice acting by all the people in it. I mean, almost every Pixar film is great. You know, the Cars movies are shit, but almost every other Pixar movie is great. Oh yeah, I'm with you, Tendai. Holding back the tears in Coco was a real struggle. Raiders, you are pretty much right that Halloween's marketing just like Valentine's. I won't argue with on that. Harry, Cinco de Mayo is not even a big thing in Mexico. That's not Mexico's national day. A lot of Americans mistakenly think Cinco de Mayo is Mexico's national day, and it isn't. You're gonna link in, Harry, you're linking in Mario Odyssey Desert Kingdom, Tostarina. Yeah, but Raylene, that's why I brought up Day of the Dead, because the purpose of Day of the Dead is very similar to what you're saying about Samhain, about remembrance. And even the Catholic version of Halloween is All Hallows Evening, Halloween, and became Halloween. And it was a remembrance of people who are dead. Yes, Miss Oxidation, Dia de Muertos. This is the thing, years ago, and by years ago, I mean about 25 years ago, I was in San Francisco on Halloween and Day of the Dead. Apparently, they have quite the Day of the Dead festival in a particular part of San Francisco, and I wasn't quite game to go there. I was there with my partner, and enough people had said that's a kind of rough area of town, and bad things can happen. And so I didn't go out to the Day of the Dead festivities, which I quite regret, but I don't know, maybe the warnings were right. Harry, as you say, speaking of remembrance, Remembrance Day, 11th November is coming up. And it's not just Remembrance Day, it's of course the 100th anniversary of the end of World War II. Remembrance Day, Armistice Day, depending which part of the world you are in. That is a pretty significant day, quite honestly. Yes, Raylene, you are right that, yes, the Catholics bastardized Halloween, and then the Yanks bastardized it even further with the commercialization. Look, Adelaide's having its Christmas pageant on Saturday. Why so early? I don't know. They want to get people spending Christmas money, I guess. Who knows? Danny, your suburbs embraced Halloween. That's cool. We had a lot of kids come, and we weren't even ready when most of them started. So I don't know how many we missed. But I don't know. Just a little setup we had. I don't know. We had 20, 30, 40 kids come through. I mean, one group was about a dozen kids in one group. And quite a few came through. I like that, Raiders. Fox News is a Halloween network. It's a clown show, certainly. And it's not to be taken seriously. But yeah, that's pretty weird. Danny, you get hundreds. Yeah, see, it's not a big thing here, but yeah, I was surprised how many we did get, because it doesn't seem like a big thing here, but we still got, 20, 30, 40 kids come through. But yes, if a suburb really gets interesting, oh my God, it's so funny as everyone's saying, lest we forget for Remembrance Day. It always cracks me up, people who don't use the right, like they say less, L-E-S-S, or even sometimes unless. Some people say unless we forget because they don't know the right say, and they're trying to be really solemn and whatnot, but they're saying something dumb, and you're like, oh, okay, good on you. Okay. And it's when people use the wrong word and it just gets stuff. Possibly the funniest one, and you see memes about this online all the time. Girls who misspell cologne and they spell it colon, and they talk about loving to smell a boy's colon, and it's like, oh, that does not mean what you think it means. You're like literally talking about smelling shit at this point. But yes. Really? You're going to be at Bayswater RSL handing out poppies for Memorial, as you've done every Anzac and Remembrance Day for the past 10 years. Good for you. I mean, I might make a video for it. I've made lots of videos for Anzac Day and Remembrance Day. I have a real problem. Like, the Australian government is talking about spending $500 million on a revamped War Memorial Museum, which is so much more like when actual living veterans aren't properly cared for, to piss so much money up against the wall with jingoistic bullshit. I have two big problems with it. One is spraying all that money about unnecessarily, because there's already a big deal made about both Remembrance Day and Anzac Day. But to not be taking care of actual veterans, and no, it was $500 million, Tendai, $500 million. Raiders, Jackie Lambie would be pissed off. That is one topic Jackie Lambie is very consistent on, because she served in the military, and my God, there's apparently a few stories around that too, but she served in the military, and she's really pissed off rightly so. That's one of the topics I agree with her on. Rightly pissed off at government, and this is both governments. This is all parties guilty of this, not actually looking after veterans. Trumpeting, oh, the troops, and remember, and lest we forget, never forget, but shit all over the actual veterans and not care for them properly. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. So the not caring, wasting this money while not caring for veterans is one thing that pisses me off. But the second thing is, I'm willing to bet this is going to be about perpetuating myths. People are so and by people, I mean the government, particularly really jingoistic governments, refuse to address the reality of war and want to perpetuate the myths. Like, I have to point out to people often, virtually everything they think they know about Anzac Day is wrong. It's either just incorrect or it's a deliberately fabricated lie. And it's really disturbing the degree to which people are deluded and lied to, particularly about World War I, which was a fucking shit show. There is nothing whatsoever positive about World War I. It was imperialist bullshit that just needlessly slaughtered millions of people, mainly young men. Is absolutely pointless, just fucking imperialist bullshit. Luke, you're asking, does the big Ferris wheel, the Star in Dockland, still work? I believe it does. You can get a good view of the light industrial area just that side of Melbourne if you go on the Star. What that's better at, it has really cool lights on it. You go Dockland's a little bit across the water from it at night and just watch the light show the Star does. That's way better than actually being on it. You can't even see those lights when you're on. Raylene, your gramps was a war vet, had gold teeth paid for by the government because he's unable to handle false teeth. Saved his teeth with gold fillings. Wow. I'm going to say something really disrespectful about salvaging them all when he died. But that would be really disrespectful, so I'll say. Actually, yeah, Charlie, I'm with you that the Wonder Woman representation of World War I was pretty good, actually, within the context of a superhero movie. It was actually a pretty good one. That is the point, Hurry, that the horror of World War I did result in the fall of both the Tsar in Russia and the Kaiser in Germany. Rita, you reckon the Star's okay at night? I can see with the lights and stuff, it would be better at night. But I quite like. I'm serious. I'm not joking. From a little bit away in Docklands across the water, the light show the Star does is really cool, and I quite like it. Oh, really? Even his aged care costs were covered and profits were covered. That's nice. It's at different times, but you talk to advocates from the military now. And Australia is better than other places. Like the US is fucking terrible with the extremely poor care given to veterans in the US. It's a fucking abomination. And they're the ones who go, oh, worship the troops. Thank you for your service, and give them nothing. The veterans in Australia and the UK are looked after way better than the US. And the US has that whole bizarre canonization of the troops going on, and yet they don't fucking care for them. It's really, does it? Oh, Harumi. Actually, I always liked that movie, the Peter Weir movie, Gallipoli. Yeah, well, that actually highlighted how pointless the whole Gallipoli thing was, because it was just people getting cut to pieces. Yeah, I mean the mythology, like, even with things like, if you went to school in Australia, you probably got taught about Simpson and his donkey, which was a real person, but the stories told as if Simpson was a really exemplary person. And it's not that he didn't do good work with like going into no man's land and getting injured soldiers at great personal risk, but there's nothing that stood him out from other ambulance operators. And it's just a weird myth that was created. But yeah. Australian, your grandpa fought in New Guinea on the Bermuda track. Oh man, Australian troops in New Guinea. That was some hardcore fucking shit right there. That was the last-ditch effort to stop the Imperial Japanese Army from invading mainland Australia. That was some, oh man. If you want hardcore stories about World War II, the Australians, and at the start, it was reservists holding back the advancing Japanese army, and then the regulars were recalled from Africa, and they bolstered the defense. But the Japanese were right on the cusp of invading mainland Australia, and they held them back in New Guinea, and that was some fucking hard shit. I feel like Zilla fast as a cheetah. What are your legs? Steel springs. It's leopard, isn't it? Fast as a leopard. How fast can you run? Fast as a leopard. How fast are you going to run? Fast as a leopard. Harumi, you're saying, okay, I get what you're saying with Simpson and his donkey was a symbol of the medics that brave gunfire, but singling him out is ridiculous. It's myth building. And all the stuff that gets pushed in the mainstream ideas of Gallipoli is myth building. If the story isn't, this was fucking horrible, this was young men dying horribly for no good fucking reason. See, I mean, seriously, you read some of the really pivotal battles there, like Lone Pine and the Neck, and they end up, Turkish and Australian troops, after the gunfire and they run out of ammunition, they end up fighting in trenches hand to hand. And it's absolutely horrific. What both sides went through there for no good fucking reason was absolutely horrific. And if your story about Gallipoli isn't, this was fucking horrific and pointless, then you're not telling the true story. We're talking about Darwin in World War II. Yes, Darwin was bombed repeatedly, and that news was suppressed. That was censored during the war because they were worried about what that would affect the morale of the public in the southern states. So the news of the bombings in Darwin was suppressed until after the war. Felix here, I haven't seen it for years either. We're now talking about the lines from the Peter Weir movie Gallipoli, but I have this stupid thing where my brain remembers dialogue, and I'm almost sure, like, because one of the central characters is a promising young sprinter, and his uncle or granddad who coaches him has him say this thing like, "What are your legs? Steel springs. What are they going to do? Hurl me down the track. How fast can you run? Fast as a leopard. How fast are you going to run? Fast as a leopard." And yeah, he just runs straight into machine gun fire. And that's the end of him. And Mel Gibson's the other lead character, is a far less gung-ho guy, but ends up there anyway. Oh, look who loves the attention. I mean, like, I live when I lived in St Kilda, there was, the local Gallipoli hero, World War I hero, who came back and was mayor of St Kilda, won the Victoria Cross and all that. And you get all these stories of people who did amazing things, but World War I itself was fucking pointless. It was a really pointless story. And also, the mythology of Anzac Day in Australia has gotten so bad. A lot of people have this idea that that was like the entirety of Australia's involvement in World War I, and it wasn't. Like, Gallipoli veterans didn't go, the soldiers didn't go there, have this horrific pointless fight and retreat, and that was it. There's all those soldiers, the soldiers who retreated from Gallipoli, then got shipped off to Europe. They got shipped to the European theatre, to fucking the Somme, and saw the worst. Like, what happened after Gallipoli was 10 times worse than Gallipoli. And Gallipoli was bad, but the fucking battlefields of France were a nightmare, like a fucking hellscape. And that's when they went there. Hey, Credit, you are a little bit late in for the last half hour, but that's good. Filler and Sealy, you watched a YouTube history guy talk about jailbreak in New South Wales, the Cowra breakout. That was very famous. There was even a TV miniseries that was okay, that was done for, I don't know, 10 or 20 years ago. Yes, there was a Japanese prisoner of war camp in Cowra in New South Wales. And a lot of the West did not really understand the Japanese mentality in World War II. See, if Australian, British, American, German troops were held prisoner, yeah, okay, I'm held prisoner, you'd probably make an effort to escape. But the Japanese had this complex honor thing going on, where it was intolerable to be held prisoner. That was absolutely intolerable. And so the Australians running this prison camp in Cowra didn't realize the desperation of the Japanese prisoners. So when they made their mind to escape, shooting at them wasn't enough. That wasn't going to stop them in their charge to escape. Killing them, killing half of them, was not going to make the other half stop. People really didn't understand the Japanese honor code. Credit, you're calling Mimsy Creamsicle Cat. I see why, the orange and white. Do you like that, Mimsy? Do you like being called Creamsicle Cat? You just like attention. You love the attention. Oh, you want more? So go away. She keeps her head. No, I want more. But yeah, the bullshit attitude towards Remembrance Day and wars, and that you can only say good things or else you're dishonoring the memory of the soldiers. My personal opinion is if you don't tell the truth, you're dishonoring the soldiers, particularly the dead, the ones who died in battle. And I saw this ridiculous thing the other day. There's a old British guy who's fairly active and a bit of an agitator on Twitter, and he's a World War II veteran. And I saw this thing the other day where he tweeted, like, everyone's making a big deal of the 100th anniversary of the armistice, and how, oh, you should wear the poppy with pride. And he says what you should wear is your shame, because like World War I was disgusting and humans haven't learned any better since, to our eternal shame. And some fuckwit jumps in with like, you're disgusting, you have to honor our veterans. It was like, and then he posts a picture in his pilot's uniform from World War II. And he said, yeah, I actually fought, and as we said in World War II, up yours, Hitler. It's just like this ridiculous idea that the only thing you can ever say about war is majestic and noble and we must revere everyone. It's like, no, you need to tell the truth about how fucking horrific and awful and wasteful war is, or that's dishonoring the. And it's not just the soldiers, it's all the service people, it's all the support staff, it's all the medical staff, it's the civilians that are killed and displaced by war. It's after every war you end up with millions of refugees, displaced civilians. These are all the people who suffer during war. And if you don't recognize the entire truth, you're absolutely disrespecting what people went through. I like that idea, Mofo sign. When we say narcissism, we're normally talking about an individual, but can there be social cultural narcissism? There certainly can be society-wide delusions. Look at Riley. If anyone's near Bayswater in Victoria, come to the RSL and say hi. You're going to be the one in red with the basket of poppies. I'm not sure I'll be anywhere near Bayswater, but I will actually try and remember that. Yeah, Murphy, I like what you're saying about the narcissists dictating these national discourse. Certainly there's like this echo chamber of like blind patriotism. As you say, blind patriotism is terrifying, like not addressing the truth and the reality of what happens is terrifying. And that's how things keep happening over and over. People who treat war as a fucking adventure instead of a fucking nightmare. It's ridiculous. Yeah, as you say, the old saying, you forget the lessons of war or just of history, you're doomed to repeat it. Yes. I think, Belinda, that old line from the song War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Sing it again. Back in my college days, I was really into the British singer, sort of folky type guy called Billy Bragg, very political. He changed that line a little bit in one of his songs to war, what is it good for? It's good for business. And it is. Businesses, capitalist businesses, usually make enormous profits during wars. I see you coming in with it too, Arumi. War is good for business. Yeah. Like we had in the US, they had a minor kerfuffle when they found out General Motors was selling tank parts to the Germans, and people saying, well, you're selling stuff to the Germans that'll be used to kill American troops. And the head of GM had a line that said something like, what's good for General Motors is good for Australia. Good for America. But in Australia, we had the thing where the Prime Minister Menzies had been selling iron to the Japanese in the lead up to World War II, when it was really fucking obvious we were going to end up in a military conflict with Japan. And he was selling them iron because, well, it's good for Australia's trade. It's like the iron is being turned into weapons, being turned into battleships, and which will be used against us. But he was actually called Pig Iron Bob by his detractors. It's like he's going, oh no, it's good for Australia's trade to sell all this iron to Japan. We're going to turn it into weapons to use against us. Like, holy fucking shit. But yes. Oh, misclassification. Nice quote from Charles de Gaulle. Patriotism is love of your own people coming first. Nationalism is when hate for other people comes first. Yeah, that's not bad. And it's one of the, I forget who it was, but one of the American founding fathers was attributed the line, patriotism is the last refuge of the scoundrel. But yes. Look, Raylene, that's an interesting point you raise. National service for young people. There is some validity in saying there should be some compulsory national service. And it doesn't have to be military. Like what they call it in the US for a while, they had the Peace Corps. Like you were doing service, but it doesn't actually have to be in the military. Like you could, as you say, learning a trade, you could join the Army Engineers and actually learn stuff, or, you know, again, be a mechanic, be an engineer. Like you wouldn't have to be in the army as such, but if you joined the Army Engineers or the Medical Corps or any of these things, look, I'm not saying I'm 100% behind the idea of compulsory national service, but I think you can make an argument for it. But yeah, forcing people to be in the military per se, I'm definitely not on board with. Like I said, you join the engineers or the medical corps, or something. Even if it was actually community service, some local community service where you learned how to build things or how to do things and build things for the community. I think there's a lot to be said for that. It's the trouble. Like, I don't trust politicians. Basically, once there's no good idea that can't be ruined by politicians. And while I've never made my political leanings a secret, in fact, I'm incredibly overt with my lefty political leanings. I'm not limiting that to any political party. I think any political party is more than capable of fucking up any good idea and twisting it and doing wrong things. I also think it's possible for political parties I disagree with to put good policy in place, effective policy in place. But yeah, I'd call me cynical, but I think there's no good idea that can't be fucked up by politicians, quite honestly. I understand you're going hard with the anti-capitalist stuff. Capitalism, more like crapitalism, am I right? And saw someone saying that about Melbourne Cup. Melbourne Cup or Melbourne crap, am I right? Yes, it is. Oh, Belinda, you're talking about the Army Reserve. Yeah, again, but it's still, that's the Army. I mean, I think there needs to be some separation, and I think there needs, if you were talking about any sort of, particularly if it was compulsory national service, wouldn't even have to be compulsory. Even if there was just a sort of national service that gave you some benefit, like if you did 2 or 3 years national service, you then got free university after that. Like you got to do a 3-year degree for no charge. But I think to respect people's different views, there would have to be something that was completely separate from the Army. But yes. Oh yeah, Raylene, there would be, I also agree with you about exemptions for people who had a genuine disability or who had carer responsibilities and that sort of thing. Oh yes, Belinda, oh fuck yeah. Paid proper wage. Just to go on a bit of a sideways thing, this idea of work for the dole, which is fucking class warfare and straight up evil. There should be no work for the dole. If somebody's saying, hey, you know what? We need you to do this work for this long, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, it should be at minimum award wage. This idea of fucking borderline slave labor. You're on this shitty, impossible to live on unemployment benefit. Well, we're also going to force you to work for this person or cut you off. No. If you're doing work, it should be for minimum fucking wage for a whole bunch of reasons. But I really can't stand, particularly the way the Conservatives run work for the dole in Australia. It's fucking class warfare. It's evil as hell. What's that, Luke? It's a funny getaway. Send us places you shouldn't go. Melbourne was one of them. I guess it depends what you want. I mean, because I've lived in a few places. I've lived in country towns. I've lived in Sydney, and I've lived in Melbourne. And I visited every capital city in Australia. And there's honestly nowhere I would rather live than Melbourne. I quite like living in Melbourne. It is a fun city. I look at Phyllis here, remembering Billy Connolly singing In the Brownies. Yeah. Oh, look, misclassification, if I'm with you 100%, if work for the dollar was at minimum wage, it would be a good thing. And at the same time, if if the work for the dole was in an area that would provide people with genuine advantage, and because some industries are really fucking hard to get into without experience. So if the work for the dole is tied to, hey, you're working in this thing you want to work in that's really hard to get through, and because this will be government subsidized, you get 6 months working there as a paid intern, that would make sense. But work for the dole saying, we're going to ship you off to some rural area where you've got no support network and you won't be able to afford to live, and you're going to be a fucking slave laborer for a fucking farmer and learn nothing and achieve nothing. Fuck that. For that sort of thing, you should be paid at least minimum wage. But if it was giving you an in to an industry where it was genuinely hard to break into without experience, that would be a positive. But just putting people in shitty jobs, like the Libs were literally talking about forcing people to be shelf stackers in a supermarket for the dole. I mean, if you're going to make people do that, pay the minimum fucking wage. Ha! Oh my God, for-profit prisons in the US, they're out of control. Yes, in a lot, they do have these things where prisoners are trained to fight fires. I think they get paid $1 an hour for what's actually life-threatening work. And the real salt into the wound is when those prisoners get out of prison, they're not allowed to join the fire brigade, because you can't join the fire brigade if you're an ex-con. It's fucking ridiculous. Aureline, you can't join the defense because of health reasons. It kind of sucks if you want to. I actually worked for defense a couple of years ago, not in the army. I was on doing an IT project for defense, and I actually really enjoyed it. Like when I started, really working with defense people, that'd be interesting. And it was a project for their materiel supports, basically how they manage their supply to troops, and they were having problems with it, and it was a real political football. And it was actually working with the people on the supply side and a lot of career soldiers. And I didn't know what it would be like going in, but I actually really enjoyed working there. It was for a relatively short period of time because I do contract work, but I quite enjoyed working there, and they were very interesting people to work with. All right, as you're saying, one of the votes in the US is now ex-cons can vote in Texas. That was a thing in a few states, changes so people who'd served their time got their voting rights back. But yeah. Belinda, you're saying in the UK, people have to do work for the dole in places like Mecca. See, that's ridiculous. If you have to work for the dole, it shouldn't be for the dole. It should be for minimum fucking wage. I grind my teeth so hard at that. That's ridiculous. It's just, if you're working for the dole, it should be for minimum wage. The idea that these people can just fucking exploit you for these stupidly low rates And there's two reasons to not do it. You shouldn't shit all over unemployed people and treat them like fucking slaves. But second, if these commercial fucking companies can get away with people that they don't have to pay at all because they're not paying their dole, they're just going, yeah. So they don't employ someone at proper rates. It's fucking ridiculous. It's basically it's class warfare. There's no other way to describe it. The work for the dole is fucking class warfare. I see. That's nothing, Bobo. Okay, that sounds like a worthwhile one. You chose to work at Lifeline, work for the dole, but then the people working there were giving you shit and causing you anxiety. It's bullshit. Oh, Aggro Pixie, they won't let you join defense because of height requirements, but you would have special skills. You should be like in an infiltration unit. You could get into, gosh, they're missing an opportunity not getting you because A, with your body strength, I know, look, Aggro Pixie you've done a live stream with me and you've done some videos with me. She's got guns, man. She's wee but strong. See, you could be like special forces. You could get into really small spaces, and you're like also frighteningly strong. Like, okay, Aggro Pixie may be half my size, but there is zero doubt she would kick the shit out of me if it came to that. I have no qualms about admitting she would beat the hell out of me. Nobody, you've joined us for the last 10 minutes. Thank you. Nice of you to drop in. Ms. Voxage, we live in a toxic meritocracy. Every time I see some really big fuck up where like the political parties fucking up or some company fucking up, like the board of directors, the managers of the company fucking something up, when they do something colossally fucking stupid, I love just going, merit! They got there on the merit. Those people doing the brain-bendingly stupid thing, they're literally the best people for that because they got there on merit. It's your imagination that that person right there is horrifically incompetent. Now you're fooling yourself if you think they're completely incompetent because they got there on merit. I was like, oh my fucking God. Oh no, AgriPixie, you have a problem with authority. That might be your biggest issue with the military. If you have a problem with authority, the military is not the place for you. I was really saying Kodak have the batteries removed from single-use cameras to be reused in new single-use cameras. And they pay slave. Oh yeah, Bonds moved their production from Australia to the country where they get a bloody slave laborers. It's absolute bullshit. Look, Raiders, there's lots I like about the US, but I couldn't live there. There is too many things you looked at and go, wow, this country's got some fucking problems. I couldn't live in the US. There's lots I like about it. There are a lot of people there that I like, but I couldn't live there because there's too much that's fucked up. Just this rampant, uncontrolled, failing capitalism that just fucks over millions and millions and millions of people. It's like when they point to go, oh, you support socialism. What about Venezuela? It's like, well, you support capitalism. What about Flint, Michigan? What about all these cities? What about Detroit? What, Jesus, it's just like, there are so many examples. What about the number of people who go bankrupt? And this is thousands and thousands and thousands of people who go bankrupt in America every year because of medical bills. Capitalism is failing so badly, is desperately in need of reform. But for fuck's sake, credit. So you're American and you don't blame us for not wanting to live there. Like I said, dude, I like a lot of people in America. There are things I like about America. I like to visit there. I couldn't live there. I basically could not live there. Oh, wow, Stella, you're in for the last 5 minutes. Yuri, what aboutism can go suck a fuck? That's from Donnie Darko, isn't it? Maggie Gyllenhaal says it to Jake Gyllenhaal. Go suck a fuck, and he has this whole line about how does one suck a fuck? How does that work? Oh gosh, that's a good line credit. In the US, you have a lot of good and twice as much bad. Yeah. Look, and quite honestly, and the fucking shootings, man. It's just the fact that in America you are constantly at risk of violent, entitled, heavily armed white guys killing you. Everyone obsesses about terrorism and gangs and all black people are scary. But you look at it and statistically, you're so much more at risk from a white guy with a gun. It's just, oh my God. People are so bad at risk assessment. It does my head in. Really, the only thing you like about USA are Star Trek and Star Wars. Well, there's new Star Trek Disco coming in January, I think, which I'm looking forward to. Been quite enjoying Star Trek Disco. And they got Spock in the next series, and the Enterprise appears, and Captain Pike is there, and they're bringing Spock in. I'm really looking forward to this season of Star Trek Discovery. Oh, geez, Miss Foxification, I'm with you. Incels are definitely terrorists. They're domestic terrorists. They are violent and dangerous. Oh, Frank, you just made it. Last 5 minutes, dude. I'm loving how many people are coming on like the last 10 minutes. It's great. It's good. Yeah, Charlie's a good point. There's a running joke about Australia's fauna being so dangerous, but yeah, they have bears and guns and mountain lions. Whenever I see those fucking videos, and it's usually from California or somewhere, people on the edge of an urban center or something, and a fucking mountain lion is at the back porch interacting with their cat. You don't want a mountain lion, do you, Mimsy? No. No, 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 no. Yeah, if you go camping in Australia, you got to kind of worry about snakes, and if you're stupid in the areas you choose to swim, you got to worry about sharks and crocodiles. But you go camping in America, you got to fucking worry about bears and mountain lions. What the fuck? That's way worse. Harry, you got to leave. Thanks for dropping by, man. I'm going to be leaving in a minute. We're talking about Trump. What are we trying to do by executive order? Look, like I said, we're in interesting times. We don't know what's going to happen, but I think Trump's going to get super erratic from now on, because I think the Democrats are going to get emboldened. Democrat supporters are going to get emboldened. I have a suspicion the media are going to get a bit more direct with him, and I think Trump's going to get even more irrational and more testy. That should be pretty spectacular. Charlie, you're scared of goannas. Goannas are your friend. Oh my God, a Facebook friend. Another YouTuber, a dude I know, he posted this video the other day. He lives in Queensland, and fucking goannas, aka monitors, big ass fucking lizards. And there's two of them, and they're like up in his back porch and come in the back door of his house, and they're just coming into his house. I was like, yeah, okay, dude, that would actually freak me out, because for those who don't know, goannas, who are a form of monitor lizard, are big fucking lizards. They can get from snout to tip of tail 6, 7, 8 feet easily, and they are meat eaters. They're not going to attack a human. They might a small cat or dog. They do get birds and other native animals, but they're big and a bit visually threatening. Not really dangerous to humans, but they're fucking big prehistoric monsters, basically. And yeah, I was really spaced. And this friend of mine, he had 2 big fucking goannas coming in his back door. Oh my God, they're huge. You are right, Charlie. They can move very fast, and they do have pretty serious claws. I had a holiday in Darwin years ago where you get lots of cool wildlife, and when we went I went up through Kakadu, through Catherine Gorge, some really spectacular areas. We had this picnic ground near Catherine Gorge, and we're just having a picnic lunch, and there were a lot of birds and stuff. And this goanna just fucking walked through the middle of the picnic ground, did not give a shit about anyone. It's going for this tree where all the birds were. I suppose it's going to attack the nest or wanted to eat a bird or something. And it walked there and got to the base tree, and the birds are going wild. They're making so much noise. It's all their warning noises like, fuck, look, fucking goanna. Everyone watch out, fucking goanna. And then the look at it, this is for one here. The goanna did this thing where it just sat motionless at the base of the tree. And I mean motionless for like 10, 15 minutes. And slowly, the stupid birds calmed down because the goanna wasn't moving. It's like they forgot it was there, and it was just staying totally motionless while the birds calmed down. You can tell it was going to go and climb up the tree, and but it was sitting there absolutely motionless. And there were these Japanese tourists in our group, and they wondered if they could get a good picture with the goanna, and they could. They went right over to it, and it didn't move. And it's just going like this, watching the tree, and the Japanese tourists are going really quite close, taking photos and doing the selfie thing, and the goanna is not moving, and the birds are settling down the tree. And in my mind, the goanna was like, because it's trying to make the birds forget it's there. And in my mind, the goanna is concerned that the tourists are drawing attention to its presence, and it's not moving. But in my mind, the goanna is not moving, but it's going, go away, just go away. You're ruining everything. You're ruining it. Go away. Leave me alone. Go away. It didn't give a shit about the tourists, but I'm pretty sure it wanted them to go away because it was trying to make the birds forget it was there, and the tourists were drawing attention to it. But yes, Australian fauna is awesome. I agree with you, Raiders. Goannas and lace monitors are pretty goddamn impressive. Lace monitors tend to be a bit smaller than goannas, but have the more interesting markings. Oh, all right, needy cat. Look, I'm gonna leave, go to bed, and you can like come up on the bed and demand attention there. So yes, I'm going to leave all you fine people. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. As per usual, it has been wonderful spending time with you. I'm going to leave you for now. What's my day tomorrow? Probably going to go and get a haircut, a beard trim, because I've got job interviews next week. I've got to look pretty for them. Make it so beautiful. Try and do a TFU Friday video tomorrow, because there certainly are a few topics to talk about. I hope you all look after yourselves. I hope to see you again soon. So yeah, thanks once more for hanging out, and I will see you all again soon, I hope. Bye for now. And I've clicked the button